Morning. Please be seated. Here we're ready to proceed, and we'll be here all day until 4 o'clock.
Thank you.
Mr. Labor, please.
Good morning, Mr. Arbeman. We're going to continue with our questioning this morning. And when we left off yesterday afternoon, we were at the point where we were talking about your business called Ace Vending, okay?
Yeah.
That's where I'd like to pick up today. Just, again, speak into the microphone so everybody in the courtroom can hear you, especially the court reporter. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. Now, you were talking about the types of business activity that Ace Vending is involved in, and I think one of the things we got to was video poker machines, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And I think you also mentioned Dodge City poker machines.
Yes.
Okay. Can you just explain to the jury what Ace Vending actually did? Did you sell them and you service them, or what did you do with your customers with respect to the Dodge City poker machines?
Sold them to whoever wanted them, put them in locations where they wanted them, and repaired them for people who had them.
And when you put them in locations for people who wanted them, did Ace Vending still own the machines?
Yeah.
And I think you also, we mentioned briefly that you also dealt with slot machines, correct?
Yes.
Video slot machines. What were
Yes.
some of the names of the video slot machines that Ace Vending provided to locations?
Just a cherry machine.
Cherry Master?
Cherry Master.
Now, what was the arrangement that you had when you placed video poker machines or video slot machines at a location? What was the arrangement between Ace Vending and the location?
I would get 25%. The location would get 75%.
25% of what?
25% of the gross that went in, and I would be the repair guy. I would keep them running.
Keep them
for
running?
my 25%.
Okay, when you said you got 25% of whatever went in, you're talking about the cash that was put into the machines.
Yes.
And who got the 75%?
The owner.
Is that referred to as a split?
Split.
Is that a standard industry practice in the vending industry?
No, it's a little bit cheaper.
What do you mean it's a little bit cheaper?
The bigger guys were given 70 and 30. The bigger vendors.
So Ace was giving a better return
Yes.
for the location owners. Okay. Now, you're familiar with how the machines operated, correct?
Yeah.
And you're familiar with how they were used, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. To your knowledge, were the machines that the video poker machines and the video slot machines that Ace Vending placed in locations, were they being used for gambling purposes?
Most of them.
Most of them?
You'll have to keep your voice up, Mr. Radman.
Okay.
And where exactly were your locations for Ace Vending? Primarily in South Philadelphia?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the phrase payout, term payout?
Yes.
What does that mean?
That means if you win 100 points, you pay somebody $25 and they get off the machine. Next guy goes up to play.
And is that something that's done in connection with using machines for gambling?
Yes.
You familiar with the term knockdown or knockoff feature?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That's a button that would erase the games. A button that would erase the games.
The games or the credits?
Credits. Well, games, credits, same thing.
And is that something that would be used in connection with using these machines for gambling purposes?
Yes.
Are you familiar, do slot machines, Cherry Master slot machines have a knockdown feature?
Yes.
How about the Dodge City poker machines? Do they have a knockdown feature?
You play the games off.
What do you mean?
You knock the games off by playing them off.
By playing them down?
Yes.
Is that another way of saying you intentionally lose your credits until they zero out?
Yes.
When you were operating the Ace Vending Company, did you ever have occasions when law enforcement officials would seize some of your video poker machines or video slot machines?
Yeah.
And what would you do when that happened?
I'd get a lawyer, pay the fine, and a couple months later put another one back in.
put another one back in,
Sure.
the same location where it was seized?
Sure.
Would you generally get the seized machine back?
Twice. Not after that.
What do you mean, on 2 occasions?
Yeah.
Okay. Approximately how many times? We're talking about the time period of 2000 through, when did you actually start distributing and provide servicing video poker machines and video slot machines? Do you recall the year?
97.
And we're jumping ahead a little bit, but is it correct that Ace Vending continued to provide video poker machines and video slot machines to locations up till the fall of 2009? Is that correct? So during that approximately 12-year period, there were only 2 occasions when you got a seized machine back?
Yes.
And you said you would wait a while and then put the machine back in the location?
Sure.
Why would you wait a while?
To see what the fine was, what the penalty was going to be, and if I got the machine back, it was fine. And if I didn't, you wait a while, and just so you wouldn't throw it in somebody's face. If you take them, why put them right back in?
Well, that's my question. Why didn't you put them right back in the next day?
So they won't come back and take them the next day.
Who was they?
State police.
So you were waiting until things cooled off a little? Would that be fair? Now, shifting gears a little bit, do you know, or did you know, an individual named Gaten Lucibello?
Yes.
And how did you know Gaten Lucibello?
I got introduced to him by Jamesy.
By who?
James.
Who's Jamesy?
He was a guy from 11th and Wharton.
And when were you introduced to Gaten Lucibello?
Nine, 95.
And did you become a friend of Gaten Lucibello?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did Gaten Lucibello own any video poker machines?
One.
And did he have it at a location?
Yes.
What location was it at?
11th and Jackson.
That's in South Philadelphia?
Yes.
Okay.
13th and Jackson.
13th and Jackson? Did there come a time when you started servicing Gaten Lucibello's video poker machine?
Yeah.
And to your knowledge, was that machine used for gambling purposes?
Yeah.
And why did you start servicing Gaten Lucibello's machine?
Yes, me too.
And you agreed to?
Yeah.
Did you charge any? Did you charge Gaten Lucibello for your labor?
No.
Why not?
He became a friend. So if it needed a part, he'd pay me for the part. I wouldn't charge him for the labor.
As a result of your friendship with Gaten Lucibello, did the Ace Vending business in South Philadelphia improve?
Yeah.
Why was that?
He knew a lot of people.
And so how did that affect Ace Vending's business?
He introduced me to people, so it was easier. It's just like going up to West Philly. You meet somebody who knows a lot of people, and they introduce you to people, and you just move around with them.
Well, did you get more did Ace Vending get more locations as a result of your relationship with Gaten Lucibello?
Yes.
So you, and I assume if you had more locations, you were making more money?
Sure.
You familiar with a location called Charlie Bears?
Yes.
Okay. How are you familiar with that place?
I used to go in there and drink there.
What is it?
Used to hang in there.
What is it, a bar?
Bar.
Do you know where it's located?
On 13th Street, between Moymensing and Shunk.
Excuse me, that's in South Philadelphia, correct?
Yes.
Did Gaten Lucibello hang out at Charlie Bears?
Yeah.
And who owned Charlie Bears?
Bear.
Person named Bear?
Bear.
You know his full name, real name?
Phil.
Phil. Were there any video poker machines located at Charlie Bears?
One.
And who owned that one?
Gaten.
And was that used for gambling purposes?
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you service that machine?
Yeah.
Were any of Gaten Lucibello's machines, was his machine ever seized by law enforcement?
I think it was, yeah.
Okay, and what, did you do anything after law enforcement seized Gaten Lucibello's video gambling machine?
Yeah, I gave him another one.
You gave him another one?
Yeah.
Okay, what did you give him, do you recall?
Dodge City.
And did you charge him for the Dodge City?
That time, yes.
Okay. How much does a Dodge City cost to purchase at that time? What time were we talking? When was what year or years was Gaten Lucibello, to your knowledge, operating a video poker machine for gambling purposes in the Charlie Bears bar?
98, maybe till when Bear died.
When did Bear die?
I don't know.
Was it in the 2000s?
Yeah.
And how during that time period, say the early 2000s, how much did a Dodge City video poker machine cost? If somebody wanted to buy one from you, how much would it cost?
An old one, $2,000, a new one, $2,500.
Now, you mentioned there was one time when law enforcement seized the video poker machine from Gaten Lucibello, and you gave him another one. You sold him that machine.
Yeah.
Were there other times when his machine was seized when you gave him a machine? If you recall.
Not at Bears.
Not at Bears?
Not at Bears.
At another location?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that. After, when Bear died, did Charlie Bears change ownership?
Yeah.
And did the name of the bar change?
Yeah.
What was the new name of the bar?
Quattro.
Did Gaten keep his video poker machine in Quattro's?
Yeah.
And did you continue to service it?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with a location called Denix?
Yeah.
And how are you familiar with that location?
That's in South Philly.
Did you ever go there?
Yeah.
Did Gaten Lucibello ever ask you to put a video poker machine in Denix for him?
Yes.
And did you do that?
Yeah.
And did you charge him for that video poker machine?
No.
So you gave it to him for free?
Yeah.
Now, to your knowledge, was that the video poker machine, was it a Dodge City?
Yeah.
Was that used for gambling purposes?
Yes.
Do you recall when you gave Gaten Lucibello a free Dodge City video poker machine?
After the location had theirs picked up
Okay, so
from another vendor.
Denix had a machine in there from some other vendor.
Right.
Just by way of background, is the vending, when you were active in the vending business, was it a competitive business?
Yeah.
There were other companies doing the same thing?
Yeah.
So back to Denix. Denix had a machine, somebody seized it, and at that point, Gaten Lucibello asked you for a machine,
Yeah.
and you gave him the machine.
Yeah.
And after that, the Dodge City was used for gambling purposes at Denix, to your knowledge?
Yeah.
Did you continue to service that machine?
Yeah.
And did you charge Gaten Lucibello for your services?
No.
Are you familiar with a location called Lou's Crab Bar?
Yeah.
And how are you familiar with Lou's Crab Bar?
I used to drink in there and eat in there.
What is Lou's Crab Bar?
There was a bar on 11th Street.
Okay, yeah, let's.
It's a variety store now.
Lou's Crab Bar is no longer in business, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When did you start hanging out in Lou's Crab Bar, if you recall?
Early 2000s.
And do you recall what year it closed?
Mid 2000s.
Late 2000?
Late 2000s, mid 2000s.
Mid 2000. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. You have to speak up a little, sorry, but
Okay.
Did you go there on a regular basis?
Yeah.
What's a regular basis? Once a week? A couple times a week?
3 times a week, maybe twice a week.
Now, do you know an individual named Joseph Massimino?
Yes.
Is he in the courtroom this morning?
Yeah.
Can you point him out, please?
Mouse.
Indicating the defendant raising his hand.
So noted.
And how do you know Joseph Massimino?
He was managing a bar.
What bar?
Lou's.
Lou's Crab?
Yeah.
Okay, so that you met him as a result of your hanging out at Lou's Crab Bar.
Right.
Does Mr. Massimino have a nickname?
Mousy.
Mousy? When you went to the video, I'm sorry, strike that. When you went to Lou's Crab Bar, did you observe video poker machines inside Lou's Crab Bar?
Yes.
Do you recall how many were inside Lou's Crab Bar?
2.
Were they being used for gambling purposes?
Yes.
Did you ever observe any payouts to people who were playing those machines at Lou's Crab Bar?
A couple times.
And who did you observe making payouts?
The bartender
Do you recall the bartender's name?
was Boots.
Boots?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember, did you know an individual named Sabu?
Oh, Sabby.
Sabi?
Yeah. Sabu.
Sabu.
Mm-hmm.
Did Sabu also make payouts at Lou's Crab Bar?
Yeah.
This time, can we, Your Honor, this exhibit has already been admitted into evidence. Can we display Government Exhibit 6D7?
Okay.
6D as in dog, 7. Do you recognize that individual?
Yes.
And who is that?
Boots.
Do you know his real name?
No.
But he was one of the bartenders at Lou's Crab Bar,
Yeah.
and he was one of the people you saw making payouts on the video poker machines.
Yeah.
At this time, can we display Government Exhibit 6D as in dog, number 2? Again, this is an exhibit that's already been admitted into evidence.
Okay.
Do you recognize that individual?
Yes.
Who's that?
Gate.
Okay, you may take those pictures down. Now, during the time that you were hanging out at Lou's Crab Bar, to your knowledge, were there other types of gambling activity taking place at that location?
Yes.
What other types of gambling activity were taking place at Lou's Crab Bar?
Horses.
What do you mean by horses?
They were betting horses. I was betting horses.
You bet horses at Lou's Crab Bar?
Yeah.
How would you bet a horse at Lou's Crab Bar?
With Boots.
Through boots?
Yes.
To your knowledge, was Joseph Massimino aware that people were placing horse bets at Lou's Crab Bar?
Sustain us to the form of the question.
When you went to Lou's Crab Bar, would you see Mr. Massimino at the bar?
Yes.
And would he be there on a regular basis?
Yes.
And you said he was a manager at the bar?
Yes.
Did he, to your observation, did he appear to be active in what was going on inside the bar?
Objection.
It's ambiguous. Rephrase it.
Based on your observations,
What was he doing at the bar?
Yes. What did you observe Mr. Massimino doing when you saw him inside the bar?
Restocking a bar, running the kitchen.
Would he speak to customers?
Yes.
To your knowledge, based on your observations of his presence at Lou's Crab Bar, was Mr. Massimino aware that there was gambling activity going on at Lou's Crab Bar?
Yes.
Objection. Judge, has to be stricken. You don't know what a person's thinking or knows.
So I think aware is he goes to state of mind of Mr. Massimino. The question is, what did he observe him doing?
Okay.
He answered that, Judge. He said he stopped.
Did he observe him doing anything in connection with any
I'll
gambling
rephrase the question.
activities?
Was Mr. Massimino present in the bar when people were placing bets on horses?
Yes.
Was he present in the bar when people were playing the video poker machine and getting payouts?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, strike that. Did there come a time when, how many video poker machines were inside Lou's Crab Bar?
2.
And they were both Dodge Cities?
Yes.
And they were used for gambling purposes, correct?
Yes.
Who, when you put money into the Dodge City video poker machine to play, is the money secure in the machine?
Secure, locked in?
Is it locked in?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you get the money out of the machine?
You unlock it?
Okay. Who,
You'll have to keep your voice up, okay?
Yes.
who unlocked the video poker machines at Lou's Crab Bar, to your knowledge, if you know, and took the cash out of the machines?
The only one I know is Cebu.
Cebu?
Cebu.
Okay. Now, did there come a point in time when you started servicing the video poker machines at Lou's Crab Bar?
Yes.
And how did that happen?
Gayton asked me to.
Gayton Lucibella.
Yeah.
And what did he ask you to do?
Just asked me to fix them. They were a mess when I first went in there.
The machines?
Yes.
And what did Gayton ask you to do?
Just fix them up. They were broken up.
And did you do that?
Yeah.
And after you fixed them up, did they operate okay?
Yeah. I put new cabinets on them.
They were operating before.
Yeah.
They just didn't look very well.
No.
Okay. And after you fixed them up, did you continue to service the video poker machine in Lou's Crab Bar?
Yes.
Did you charge anyone for your services?
For parts.
Just for parts?
Yeah.
How about the cost of your labor? Did you charge anybody for that?
No.
Now, did there come a time, do you remember somebody named Janice?
The owner.
She was the owner of Lou's Crab Bar?
Yeah.
Did Janice pass away?
Yes.
What happened after Janice passed away?
Objections is what happened. Had a wake.
Overrule.
After Janice passed away, did the Lou's Crab Bar continue to operate?
Yes.
Who, to your knowledge and based upon your observations of being there on a regular basis, who was in charge of the bar after Janice passed away?
Mousy.
And did the video poker machines remain there in
I'm
Lou's
going to
Crab?
object again what in charge means, Judge. I'm objecting to that.
Overrule.
Did the video poker machines remain in Lou's Crab Bar
Yes.
after Janice passed away?
Yes.
And were they continued to be used for gambling purposes? You have to speak up.
Yes.
And did you continue to service them for free?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did Mr. Massimino, after Janice died, attempt to either purchase the bar or the liquor license at Lou's Crab Bar?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
I loaned him money.
Do you recall how much you loaned him?
$30,000.
Did you charge him any interest for that loan?
No.
Was Mr. Massimino able to purchase the bar or the liquor license, to your knowledge?
I would think yes for the liquor license and no for the bar.
Why would you think that?
Of course, the bar ended up getting closed and sold to Asian people.
Did you get your money back? Did you get the loan repaid that you had made to Joseph Massimino?
Yes.
How did you get paid back?
Little by little. Out of the machines I had in the bar, I had a jukebox, a shuffleboard, a Mega Touch. So I got to keep the 100% out of that. That went towards it. And then he'd give me money here and there.
So you had Ace Vending had some of their own machines in there?
Yes.
Did Ace Vending have video poker machines, or
No.
so you would get money from your machines, 100% collection,
Yes.
instead of these 25,
I don't
75?
object to counsel testify. Make the gentleman testify. He doesn't have to repeat everything he says.
Not lead, please.
Yes, Your Honor. You made reference to getting 100% from the machines.
Right.
Could you
And that
explain
would
what
go
you meant by
toward
that?
the loan.
Repeat that. Could you explain
That
what you
would
meant
go
by that?
toward the loan. If the machines made 200, I'd get 100, he'd get 100, the other 100 would go toward the loan.
Okay. And did the Lou's Crab Bar eventually shut down?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall when it shut down?
No.
What happened to the video poker machines that were in Lou's Crab Bar after the bar shut down?
I stored them in my warehouse.
And where is your warehouse located?
8th and Mountain. 8th and Mountain?
8th and Mountain? And is that actually the Ace Vending warehouse?
Yes.
And what do you store in the warehouse?
Parts and games.
Video games?
Yeah.
Did you charge Mr. Massimino for storage for keeping the video poker machines stored in your warehouse?
No.
Did Mr. Massimino have a key to the Ace vending warehouse?
Yes.
Now, are you familiar with an individual named Marty Angelina?
Yes.
How do you know Marty Angelina?
From growing up with him.
In South Philadelphia?
Yes.
We displayed the picture of Martin Angelina. Martin Angelina, 6D, 20. Martin Angelina. No. We'll get back to that later time. To your knowledge, calling your attention to the time period of October or November of 1999, to your knowledge, at that time, did Martin Angelina own a number of video poker machines?
Yes.
How do you know that?
I helped him take care of them.
And were they placed at locations in South Philadelphia?
Some of them.
Were there other locations where they were placed?
Yeah.
What were the other locations?
Manayunk, had one.
You had one in Manayunk?
Yeah.
What was the name of that location?
Whiskey Dicks.
What is Whiskey
I'm sorry, I
Dick's?
didn't hear it.
Whiskey Dicks.
Oh, thank you.
What is Whiskey Dick's?
It was bar.
To your knowledge, you said you helped service those machines as well?
Yeah.
To your knowledge, were those machines owned by Martin Angelina? Were they being used for gambling purposes?
Yes.
Now, did there come a time when Martin Angelina asked you to do something with his machines? Let me ask you, did Martin
Yes.
Angelina have a father-in-law?
Yes.
Do you recall the name of his father-in-law?
Lou.
Did Martin Angelina, again calling your attention to the time period late 1999, did Martin Angelina ask you to do something for his father-in-law?
Help his father-in-law.
Okay.
He expected.
Tell the jury exactly what you recall about what Martin Angelina said about helping his father-in-law.
Marty was expecting to go to jail, so he asked me to help Lou fix the games.
Fix the
If
games?
they broke down, yeah.
What are you talking about when you said fix the games?
If they broke down, to fix them. The monitor, the boards.
You're referring to video poker machines?
Yes.
Okay. And did you do that?
Yes.
Now, do you know an individual named Anthony Staino?
Yes.
Is he present in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you identify him?
Anthony.
Indicating the gentleman sitting in the second chair at the first table with the black glasses. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Now,
So noted.
Record should reflect the witnesses identified defendant Anthony Staino. Now, after you had provided some assistance to Martin Angelina's father-in-law, did Mr. Staino, did you have an occasion to speak with Mr. Staino at the Ace Vending Warehouse? Do you recall
Yes.
that? And what did Mr. Staino say to you when he spoke to you at the Ace Vending Warehouse?
He said he was going to take over Marty's route. Would I help him?
Okay, could you repeat that again? There was some.
He was going to take over Marty's route off of Lou, so would I help him?
What did you understand Mr. Staino to be referring to when you said he was taking over Marty's route?
He would start working the route instead of Lou.
What do you mean by route?
The machine route,
The video poker
the
route.
video poker route.
And did you say anything to Mr. Staino in response to that?
I said yes.
What did he ask you to do something? Did Mr. Staino
Just
ask
keep him running.
keep them running?
Yeah.
And did you agree to do that?
Yeah.
And did you in fact help Mr. Staino keep the video poker machines on the route running?
Yes.
Okay, what did you do? Service them?
Yes.
Did you charge Anthony Staino any? Did you charge Anthony Staino for?
Parts.
Did you charge him for your labor?
No.
Did you charge him for your parts?
Parts.
When Anthony Staino told you that he was taking over Marty's route, did you explain to him any business risk associated with
Objection, Judge, it wasn't Marty's route, it was Lou's route.
Foundation.
Mr. Staino came to you and said he was taking over Marty's route. Is that what you testified to?
Leading question. Rephrase the question.
You testified a few minutes ago that Mr. Staino came to your warehouse and said something.
Yes.
Could you repeat what Mr. Staino said to you?
Objection, it wasn't at his house.
At his,
Overruled.
let's just go back to it real carefully, okay?
Okay.
You testified Mr. Staino came to your Ace Vending warehouse. correct?
Warehouse.
And he said something to you. Could you repeat for the jury what Mr. Staino said to you when he came to your to Ace Vending's warehouse?
He said, I'm going to take over Marty's route.
Okay.
Would you help me run it?
Okay.
I said, yes.
So you agreed to help Mr.
And-
Staino run the video poker route.
Right.
Did you actually do that? Did you actually go out and service some of the machines?
Yeah.
Okay. And you didn't charge any Mr. Staino for your labor?
Objection, Anthony answered.
Overruled.
Did you charge him for the labor?
Labor, no.
Okay. Now, back to the warehouse when you're having this conversation. Did you say anything to Mr. Staino about some of the business risks associated with operating a video poker route?
Yes.
What did you say to Mr. Staino?
I said, if you get caught gambling on them, they're going to take them off you, which I would figure he would already know.
Objection.
This,
Overruled. It's the speaker's state of mind.
okay. You may continue.
And if it gets taken off you, the bar would get a gambling fine, and you'd have to get him a lawyer. And that was about it.
Did you say anything to him? Did Mr. Staino, based upon your observation, appear to understand what you were saying?
Sure.
Did you say anything to Mr. Staino about the business advantages of trying to get the machine back?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said it doesn't pay to get the machine back.
Okay, after you began servicing those machines, and again, this conversation, to the best of your recollection, was in late 1999. Is that a fair estimate? I'm sorry. This was after you
Objection, Judge.
Well, they guess who asked the question first.
yeah, I'm just directing his. I believe you testified that you had your conversation with Marty Angelina in late 1999, correct?
Yes.
So this would have occurred after that, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall how long after your conversation with Marty Angelina did this conversation with Mr. Staino take place, if you recall?
A couple years, I would think.
Would it have been more or less, you're not
In
exactly
the
sure?
2000s, I would think. I'm not
Early
sure.
2000s?
Early 2000s.
And when you began servicing those machines, did you continue to have conversations with Mr. Staino?
Yes.
Did you talk about what you were doing with the machines?
Yes.
And on occasion, did you see Mr. Staino at some of the locations where the machines were located?
Marty's machines. No.
Did you see him at other locations where you had machines?
Yes.
And based upon, well, we'll get ahead. Yeah, I think at this time what we'll do is play some recorded conversations.
Okay.
And I believe the series of conversations are in book 3.
Excuse me. Is that loud enough? Did I get loud enough?
You have to keep your voice up.
Okay. Your Honor, for the record, the first conversation we are going to play is a conversation. For the record, will be identified as tape number 1-146. The corresponding transcript is 1-146A, which is behind tab 146 of Book 3. And for the record, this is a conversation dated January 18th, year 2001, with a time of 2:24 p.m. Mr. Arberman, I believe there's a transcript book in front of you up there. It should say book number 3. Do you see that? When you turn to tab 146 and make sure that's the correct transcript in front of you there.
Yes.
Okay, we can maybe play that tape for the jury at this time.
What you want, Kurt? Yeah. Now, if you want your car here. Okay, well, how much I got something for us. I'll drop it over to you. All right, bye.
Mr. Arberman, did you hear that conversation?
Yes.
Do you recognize the speakers on that conversation?
Yeah.
Who are the speakers?
Mousy and Anthony.
Okay, at this time, the government will play tape identified as 1-147. The corresponding transcript is behind tab 147, and it's identified as Exhibit 1-147A. For the record, it's the conversation dated January 25, 01 at 12:25 p.m. Do you have that in front of you, Mr. Arberman?
Yeah.
Okay, let's play that one.
Where you at? I'm in the 23rd Street, 32nd Street. How do you want to thinking? For what? I was talking about a couple of things. I think a couple of nights down the 10th Street. Some blues. I went over to Vic's and some blues. No, I want you to walk over to Culver's. Well, where you at now? Well, now, if I walk back over blues, I said, where you guys? You left. I went up to the bar. Huh? What, you want to get that bar now? No. I just see when I see the bar then. Oh, all right. Yeah, it's not a place. Just explain a couple things, that's all. We want you to do a running count. Did you know that? Yeah, I know. Well, it's up to you. It only has that one thing. I can't find the other thing. You know what I'm saying? It only has that one thing. It doesn't have a double thing. You just don't knock it down. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It only has one thing. You know, the other one has an out. It just has an out or an in. Okay. Yeah, I can't do it because there's only one little thing here. All right, I'll explain it to him. I did. Okay. All right, I'll talk to you. Just bring the word out. I'll see you tomorrow. You got it.
Hey, Mr. Arberman, do you recognize the voices in that recording?
Yes.
Who are the voices?
Me and Anthony?
Anthony Staino?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you some questions about that conversation. Calling your attention to line 6 and 7. Mr. Staino.
Which page?
Page 1, line 6 and 7. Mr. Staino said, I want to talk to you about a couple things. I thought you were coming to meet me at 10th Street from Blues. Do you recognize that word, blues?
Yes.
What is blues?
Blues was a location
What kind of location?
where he had a machine.
Or who had a machine?
Anthony.
What kind of machine? If you recall.
From what this, at Dodge City.
Dodge City?
Yes. How this is going, it looks like a Dodge City at the time.
Okay. Then you made a reference to Vic's. I went over to Vic's from Blues.
Yes.
Do you recognize the reference VIX?
Yes.
What is that a reference to?
Another location.
And what location was that?
8th and Tasker.
And were there any video poker machines at VIX?
He didn't own those.
Who was he?
Anthony didn't own the video pokers.
Anthony
Didn't own the video pokers that were there
at VIX.
at VIX.
Did you service those at VIX?
Yes.
How about Culver's? Do you recognize that name?
Yes.
What's Culver's?
It's a restaurant.
Video poker machines at Culver's?
No.
Now, let's take a look at page 2, line 3. You say to Mr. Staino, you say to Staino, Blue wants you to do a running count. You know that? Staino
Yes.
says, yeah. What does that phrase mean, running count?
That means keep it from week to week.
Keep what from week to week?
The count of the money that goes in
The money that goes into what?
into the machine,
Into what machine?
into the video poker. I would think was there at the time.
The Dodge City video poker machine?
Yes.
That's one of the machines you were servicing, correct?
Yes.
And then you say you only got one thing. It doesn't. Staino says you only got that one thing there. It doesn't have the another thing.
Right.
Do you know what he was referring to when he said that?
The cherry machine.
A cherry machine.
Right.
Okay. And then you say just knock it down, correct?
Yes.
This time,
Well, excuse me, Judge, just to form a question, it says, what it actually says is, just don't knock it down.
okay. I'm sorry. I stand corrected. You said to Mr. Staino, just you know what you do. Just don't knock it down, correct?
Right.
And you're talking about a Cherry Master slot machine, correct?
Objection, Judge, he's testifying. I thought he said it was a different kind of machine.
What kind of a machine are you talking about?
The way this is phrased, it looks like a Dodge City.
Well, you did.
You
When I
wanted to
just
keep
asked
a
you,
running count.
let's go back, Mr.
Yes.
Arberman. Let's go over what you just testified.
Right.
Lines 4 through 6. Mr. Staino says you only got that one thing. It doesn't have another thing. Didn't you just testify that that's a reference to a Cherry Master slot machine? Did you not just say that a few minutes ago?
Objection, Judge.
Well, he's asking me whether that's what he said. There's some confusion.
Yeah, I'm confused.
Is that a reference to it? Did you testify that that's a reference to a Cherry Master slot machine?
I don't think I did. I think I said this one was a Dodge City because he wanted to do a running count.
I believe you testified
Oh,
on
Judge,
page.
that's what he said, Judge, objection. Counsel can't tell him what he said?
Okay. The jury will remember what he said.
Yes, sir. On page 1, when you were asked a question about blues,
Yes.
what was it blues?
Blues had either a cherry machine or a Dodge City. Sometimes he had both. Sometimes he only had one.
Sometimes you're saying sometimes he had both. Who are you referring to?
Blue.
And when you say both,
One of each.
one of each what?
One Dodge City, one Cherry Master.
Okay. Okay, at this time the government will play tape recording identified as 1-48. The transcript for this recording is behind tab 148. And transcript exhibit is identified as 1-148A. For the record, it's a conversation dated February 3rd, 2001. And the time of the conversation is 10:32 a.m. Do you have that transcript in front of you, Mr.
Yes.
Arberman? Okay, let's listen to that conversation.
Hello? Yeah, what's up, buddy? No, we don't. I'm just playing around. Alright, when you call it that new thing you just did? Yeah. Okay, it's like screwing up, you said.
Arberman, do you recognize the voices in that conversation?
Yes.
And who are
Yes.
the voices?
Yes.
Speakers? Who are the speakers?
Myself and Anthony.
Now, calling your attention, to page 1 of that transcript. Do you recall Mr. Staino says, do you all right that new thing you just did? Do you have a recollection of what Mr. Staino was referring to when he said that new thing you just did?
I would think I put a new machine in there.
In where? Do you know from this conversation?
Objection of the witness is speculating, Judge.
What's your best recollection of what that means?
My best recollection is I put a new machine in there.
Okay, and what kind of machine are you talking about?
If it had a 601 key, it would be a Dodge City.
Okay. And when you say you put it in there, calling your attention to, let's lay a foundation before I ask the next question. Line 13, you make a reference to that Pasquale's crazy. I'll go right over there.
Yes.
Do you recognize the name Pasquale?
Yeah.
How do you recognize that name?
He owned the place.
He owned what place?
It
If
was
you
a
know.
coffee bar.
Coffee bar. Were there video poker machines in Pasquale's?
One.
Now, does that refresh your recollection, or does that help you identify what location you're talking about during this conversation?
No.
Well, you said you. Okay, let's try it another way. Mr. Staino at line 9 and 10 makes the statement: if you hit something, it triples instead of doubles. Do you
Right.
understand what Mr. Staino was referring to when he said that?
Yes. Game was broke.
What game was broke?
I would say Dodge City game if it had 601 key.
Well, at the top of page 2, line 1, you make reference to the 601 key.
Right. That's what I'm looking at.
Can you explain to the jury what a 601 key is?
The 601 key was for the Dodge Cities
Okay.
to open up the money part.
Now back to page 1, when Mr. Staino makes reference to it triples and it doubles.
Right.
Are you able to understand, do you recall what Mr. Staino was talking about when he said it triples and it doubles?
You already said, Judge, that means it's broke.
Overruled.
The bit-
Do you
there-
understand the question?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a double up button on the Dodge City. So if he's hitting the double up button and it triples, that means it would be broke.
Okay.
If you hit the take button and it doubled, that means it would be broke too.
So the double is a feature of the Dodge City poker machine?
Yes.
Is that an operation that is used for gambling purposes, doubling up?
Yes.
Now, let's go to there's also a discussion about a lock and a tongue during this conversation.
Right.
Do you know what those references mean?
It sounds like I put the wrong lock on. The tongue is this big or that big,
Okay, you're indicating sizes with your fingers.
sizes. So I put the wrong tongue on and it wouldn't lock up
Put the wrong tongue and lock on what?
on the video game.
What video game?
The way this is stated at Dodge City.
And what would happen, what would the effect be if you put the wrong size tongue on a lock on a Dodge City video poker machine?
Anybody could get in there and take the money out.
Now, let's take a look at page 2, line 14 through 16. Mr. Staino says, if you do something, it pushes. If it hits, when it goes to clear, it goes the other way. Do you remember hearing that in the conversation?
Yes.
Do you know what Mr. Staino was talking about when he said it pushes, if you hit it, it goes to clear, it goes the other way?
Judge, if you could read the rest of the words of my client there.
Well, he can root that. The question is, what do you understand that to mean?
That would mean instead of the game clearing down, it would go back up. So the buttons were probably reversed on the inside of the game. where there was a chip problem on the board.
Okay, and what kind of game were we talking about again?
If it had a 601 key, I would say Dodge City.
And what do you mean it would go up again?
As opposed to clearing them down, it would clear up,
Clearing what down?
play up.
Clearing what down?
The games.
Credits or games?
Well, same thing.
Credits and games are the
credits.
same thing. When you
Yeah.
use those terms, you mean they're the same thing?
Yes.
So this conversation is a discussion about clearing credits, is that correct?
Yep.
And I don't want to lead you, but why is Mr. Staino talking to you about this?
Because I would go over there and fix it if it was broken.
And based on this conversation, did you conclude that the machine was broken?
Yes.
And then you said I played 1,800 games, but I'll go and take a peek.
Yes.
Did you actually play?
Yeah.
Is that how you, in the course of what do you do when you service a machine? Just explain to the jury very briefly what you do when you service a machine.
It depends which is broke. You put a new monitor in, you throw some money in, you make sure the game's working, then you can leave.
And when you talked about clearing the credits,
You play them down.
and is playing down credits something that's done in connection with using a Dodge City poker machine for gambling purposes?
Yes.
Now, at this time, we'll play tape identified as Government Exhibit 1-149. The transcript is identified as Government Exhibit 1-149A, which is behind tab 149 of Book 3. For the record, the conversation is dated February 6, 2001, and the date of the conversation is 11:09 a.m. Do you have that transcript in front of you, Mr.
Yes.
Harmon? Okay. Let's play that conversation.
Hello. Yeah, what's up, buddy? Where you at, bro? I'm on Wednesday. Oh, okay, I'm gonna go see him, I'll tell you. I'm gonna see your friend, 11th Street. Okay. And I'll tell you, well, I took care of yesterday, but they said, is it? Yeah, it's over 8th Street, you want that out. I'll tell you, 8th Street. Cause
Okay, Mr. Harperman, do you recognize the voices on that recording?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Again, you have to speak into the microphone. So
Okay.
Okay, I have a couple of questions for you on this conversation. Let's go to page 1. Line 4, you make the reference, I'm up in Ben Salem.
Yes.
What were you referring to when you said I'm up in Ben Salem?
I had a location in Ben Salem, and I get some parts up there, and there's a distributor up there. 2 distributors were up there back in 2001, and there was a repair place up there. There was a lot of stuff up there in Ben Salem I had to do.
Related to the video vending
Yes.
machines? Now, line 7, Mr. Staino makes the reference, go see your friend, on 11th Street.
Yes.
Who did you understand Mr. Staino to be referring to when he said, go see your friend on 11th Street?
Mousy.
What was the location of the Lou's Crab Bar?
11th Street. 11th and Passyunk.
Then line 10, you said, I took care of a couple of things for you yesterday, and then Mr. Staino says, no, it's over 8th Street. He wants that out. Did you recognize the reference to 8th Street?
Yes.
What is that a reference to?
I'm going to think that's Vic's
That's
on 8th
Vic's?
Street. Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Staino said he wants that out, okay?
Right.
And actually, if you skip ahead to page 2, line 16, you make the reference and use that bill acceptors in VIX because that's the same one, correct? Did you hear that?
Yes.
So does that help you identify whether VIX, the reference to A Street is a reference to VIX?
No, I'm going to think that's somewhere different if I'm taking something out of Vic's.
Okay. But your understanding of the reference to A Street is VIX?
Objection, Judge Counsel keeps telling him what he means. Let him explain what he means.
It's a long time ago.
What is it?
Judge Counsel keeps on telling the witness what the witness means, when the witness should be allowed to say what he wants.
Sustain.
Let's go back to page 1, line 11. There's a reference to A Street. Do you see that?
Yes.
What is your understanding that the reference to A Street means?
He wants that machine out of A Street.
What kind of machine?
That I can't remember.
Would it be a video poker machine, possibly?
Objection, he can't remember.
Well, he can try to refresh his recollection with a leading question at that point. So does that refresh your recollection?
Yes, it would be either a video poker machine or a cherry machine.
Okay.
Cherry slot machine.
Yeah, but I don't know which one.
Okay. Let's go to page 2. Top of the page, Mr. Staino says, I don't know. He says it's jamming. Bada bing, bada bing. Did you understand what Mr. Staino meant when he said it's jamming?
The bill acceptor's broken.
Okay. What is a bill acceptor?
It's where you put the money
On what?
on either one of the games.
Either one of what games?
The poker game or the cherry game.
Then Mr. Staino says, you got the one that we took off of Passyunk. Did you hear that?
Yes.
What did you understand Mr. Staino to be referring to when he said Passyunk?
I took a machine off a place off Passyunk Avenue.
What kind of machine?
That I can't remember.
Would it have been anything other than a video poker machine or a video cherry slot machine?
No.
Were you doing, let's maybe clear it up this way. You were servicing video machines for Anthony Staino at this time, correct?
Yes.
And you were servicing video Dot City poker games?
Yes.
And you were servicing video cherry master slot machines, correct?
Yes.
Were you servicing any other kind of vending machines for
No.
Mr. Staino?
No.
Again, continuing on page 2, line 9, you make reference to a new bill acceptor. You see that entry there? Is that part of the conversation? You see that?
Yes.
Then Staino says, yeah, but he says he's got to shut it down now. Will that work? What did you understand Mr. Staino to be referring to when he said, will that work?
On line 9, it says I'll call him up and I'm coming up with a new bill acceptor.
Correct. And then Mr. Staino asked you the question on line 10. Now,
Instead of moving the machine, we'll just put a new bill acceptor and work for it.
okay. When you say a new machine, what are you referring to?
A different machine, one would be working.
A video poker machine?
Yes.
Okay. Now, line 16, you say, and use that bill acceptor in VIX because that's the same one.
Yes.
What are you referring to in line 16 when you say use that bill acceptor in VIX?
Use the new bill acceptor in VIX because it's the same make and model. It would fit right in instead of putting a new faceplate on there.
It would fit right into what?
Right into the machine.
Okay. Now, based on everything you've heard from this conversation, calling your attention to line 16, are you able to identify the reference you make to VIX?
Yes.
And what is that a reference to?
VIX was a location on 8th and Tasker.
And were there Dodge City video poker machines or Cherry Master slot machines located at VIX?
Both.
Now, calling your attention to line 18 and 19, you said, I told our buddy, you ought to tell Anthony, just use the bill acceptors that cost like $350. They're a lot better. Who were you referring to when you said, I told our buddy?
Mousy.
And what were you referring to when you said they cost like $350?
They were better bill acceptors. They were $350 a piece.
Do you recall having a conversation with Mr. Massimino or with Mousy about bill acceptors?
Not on that day.
On any other day?
Yeah.
What do you recall about your discussion with Mousy about bill acceptors?
To use the better bill acceptors because there's less work involved.
That's what you said to That's what you said to Mousy. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what did Mousy say in response to you?
Mousy said fine.
During this time period that you were providing free service for these video poker machines and video slot machines, did you also talk to Mousy
Yes.
on a regular basis
Yeah.
about the machines
Yeah.
and about what you were doing for the machines?
Yeah.
Now, line 21, you make a reference to Marty. Do you see that?
21.
Line 21 on page 2.
Yes.
Who were you referring to when you said Marty had those little cheap ones?
Marty Angelini.
And were the bill acceptors that cost $350, did you start using them?
Yeah.
And did you charge anybody for the cost of obtaining the $350 bill acceptors?
Anthony.
Anthony Staino?
Yeah.
And did he reimburse you for the cost of the bill acceptors?
Yes.
Did you charge him for the cost of your labor for installing new bill acceptors?
No.
Okay, let's go to page 4 of this transcript 149. Top of the page, Mr. Staino asks, are you going to Manayunk? And in line 2 you say, Wednesday, yeah, I'll be Whiskey Dick's. What is Whiskey Dick's in that context?
It was a bar.
Were there video poker machines in that location?
One.
And who owned that machine? This is in, the date of this conversation is February 6th of 2001.
Anthony was running it.
Anthony was running the machine?
Yeah.
Anthony Staino?
Yeah.
Then, calling your attention to line 8, you say to Mr. Staino, did you understand all the numbers and everything I left? And Staino responds, no, I just figured it out. What were you referring to when you said all the numbers and everything I left?
That would be from VIX.
Okay. And what were you referring to?
I would leave him a little slip in there and tell him how many games I played and what he should take off and what he should take off and what he should put on, what he should add in.
What are you talking about? What do you mean when you say take off or put on? What,
Well, if I fixed the machine, I would run some bills through 'em. So if I ran $100 in bills through 'em, there'd be 400 extra games. So I'd leave him a note, say, take off 400 games. So this way, nobody's getting cheated for nothing.
first of all, what do you mean take off 400 games?
Because I put the 400 games on there by playing it to make sure it was working.
And what do you mean you take it off so nobody gets cheated?
Well, you don't want to charge nobody for something that's not there.
And then Mr. Staino, continuing on in the conversation, Mr. Staino says, I just added everything up and did it that way. Do you see that part of the conversation?
Yeah. On line 12, it says I made quarters into a nickel.
Okay.
So that was probably what happened. Instead of making every credit worth a quarter, every credit was only worth a nickel.
What are you talking about credits? For what?
For the games that the people were playing. So if you put $1 in, it's only worth, you get 20 credits, as opposed to putting $1 in, you get 4 credits. So there had to be a difference in the numbers. So instead of you looking up 100 games and there's $25 in there, there would only be $1 in there.
And again, you're talking about video poker games and video slot machines, correct?
Yeah.
You're talking about games that would be used for games that would be played for gambling purposes in this context?
Yeah.
And then you make a line 13, you say, I just left a note. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
Did you, in fact, on occasion leave notes for Mr. Staino in the machines?
Yeah.
All right, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Tom, I'm going to hand the witness an item marked as Government Exhibit 2B6. Hand that to you, Mr. Arbman. Take a look at that first. Is there any objection to this?
I have no objection.
No objection. If you could just give us a time frame, Judge, when this will be prepared.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Once you do that,
Mr. Arbman, have you had a chance to look at that item?
Yes.
Can you identify what it is?
It's my handwriting telling Anthony to take 100 points off the count.
Okay. And what does that mean, take 100 points off the count?
It means the game was probably broke and I ran $100, 100, either $10, either $20 with a nickel machine, or 100 points would be, or $25 with a quarter machine, or $2 with a nickel machine. Just take 100 points off of the count.
And
So
why?
I fixed the game. I put up 100 points up that somebody shouldn't be getting charged for.
okay, how about identifying when was it written and,
Oh.
and what were the circumstances?
Taking a look at this document, do you recall when it was written?
No, I can't recall when it was written.
Now, back on the conversation dated February.
Any objection to admissibility?
This is 2B6, well, yeah,
2B6.
no, there is no objection, Judge.
Okay, it's admitted.
May we display it to the jury at this point?
Okay?
Should be on the screen in front of you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, at the top of the page, top of that item, it's, first of all, can you just hold that up so the jury can actually see what the item is? It's a little brown envelope.
Yes.
Did you use those little brown envelopes in the course of conducting Ace vending business?
Yes.
What did you use them for?
I used them for my receipts.
For your receipts?
Right.
And did you also use them to leave messages to
Yes.
Anthony Staino? This date of the conversation where you make reference to I left you a note is February 6th of 2001. At that time period, were you using these brown envelopes to leave notes to Anthony Staino?
Yes.
Now, why would you leave a note like this to Anthony Staino?
So Anthony would have the right count.
Well, what was Anthony Staino doing with respect to the machines?
He was collecting
Collecting what?
the machines,
Collecting what from the machines?
the money,
And where would you leave this note?
inside the machine.
Inside the locked portion of the machine?
Yeah.
Okay, at this time, the government will play tape number 1-150. Transcript is identified as, it's behind tab 150. It's identified as Exhibit 150A. For the record, it's dated February 7th, 2001, at 11:06 a.m.
When you come back to the city, right? Stop at the R&R. What's the matter there? They're saying it counts off all the time. What, 25? Excuse me? They told me the count was off by being under last time. I should be good for them, though. They explained it that. Well, no, now it's not. So, that means how much did it off by? 20 points. So $30 for $70 for fucking decent? I'm just saying, I'm going to tell you now, that's crazy. I just have to go look at it, that's all. No problem. I'm going to take it out in between 2 and 3 problems. Okay, thanks. Ready to go out and you up? Great. All right, bye-bye.
Mr. Arberman, do you recognize the voices in that conversation?
Yes.
And who are the voices?
Yes.
Who are the voices?
Myself and Anthony again.
Okay, line 4 of page 1, line 4 of page 1, Staino makes a reference to R&R. Do you recognize that reference?
Yes.
What is R&R?
It had to be location. I don't know where it was.
Was it a location where there were video poker machines or video slot machines?
Yes.
Line 6, Staino says they're saying the count's off all the time. Did you understand what he was referring to when he said the count's off all the time?
Yes.
What was he referring to?
When he would refer to the count at the end of the week, how much money went through the machine,
Through what machine?
whichever machine was in there.
Either a Dodge City or a video slot or a
Yes.
master slot machine. Then at the bottom of the page, lines 9 through 14, Mr. Staino says the count was off by being under. That should be good for them. Did you understand what he meant when he said that?
Yes.
What did he mean?
Judge, that wasn't what my client said, that's what the witness said.
I'll correct that. You said you said to Mr. Staino, they told me the count was off by being under last time. That should be good for them. What did you mean when you said that?
That means if the count was off by 120 points, it's $30. That would mean Anthony would owe them less money. Or they would owe Anthony less money, I'm sorry.
Why do you say that?
Because if it's under by $30, Anthony will get $30 less.
Okay, well, you say, let's look at line 13 and 14.
Yes.
Mr. Staino said, well, let's begin at 12. You say, how much is it off by? Staino says 120 points, and you say, so $30. Call that
Yes.
portion of the conversation?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? 120 points, so $30.
That means a quarter of credit
For what?
for the game. Every time you put $1 in, you'll get 4 credits. $30 equals 120 points.
And then you say, so $30 for $7, what's their F and beefing? You see that? You hear
Yes.
that? What's your reference to $7?
For $7, it looks like that would be 25% of, or roughly 25% of $30.
And what does that mean, 25% of $30?
That would be what I would be charging, 25% of $30.
You?
Yeah, I didn't know what Anthony would be charging.
Okay. Well, you didn't have a machine at this location.
No, well, you're asking me what,
They-
Witness said that he would be charged. Mr. Lever's trying to correct him.
No, I'm not. I'm just asking him a question.
Okay, restate the question.
Did you have a machine at R&R?
no,
So you wouldn't be charging anybody for it.
Objection.
Overruled.
If you didn't have a machine at R&R, would you be charging somebody a machine? Would you be charging somebody $7 for something?
no.
So a few minutes ago, you said I would be charging them for $7. Do you want to correct your testimony?
Well, if Anthony was charging them 25%, it would be $7.50. So it wouldn't be $7. It's roughly $7.
Listen carefully to my question, Mr. Harper.
Okay.
You testified I would charge them $7.
I would, right?
You didn't have a machine at R&R.
No,
So do you want to correct your testimony that you weren't charging?
I wasn't charging. Correct.
Was somebody else charging?
Yes.
Who was charging?
Anthony.
At this time, the government will play tape identified as 1-151. Transcript is located behind tab 151. And the transcript is identified as Exhibit 1-151A. For the record, the conversation is dated February 11th, 2001, and the time of the conversation is 10:02 a.m. Do you have that transcript in front of you, Mr. Arberman?
Yes.
Mr. Arberman, are you able to identify the speakers on that recording?
Yes.
Who are the speakers?
Anthony and Bay?
And was Bay somebody that you would deal with in the course of servicing machines?
Yes.
And where was Bay? Did Bay have a location?
On 9th Street.
Did he have a video
No,
poker
I'm
machines?
sorry. On
I'm sorry.
8th Street. 8th Street somewhere.
Okay, let's make sure we're on the right page.
Right.
Bay, where is Bay's location?
Bay's on 8th Street.
8th or 9th? What's your best recollection?
8th.
8th.
9th goes the other way.
Okay. And what is Bay's?
Bay's was a little store on the corner.
Okay. Were there any video poker or video slot machines in Bay's?
2
What kind of machines do you recall?
poker machines.
And who did they belong to?
One belonged to Anthony.
And did you service that machine?
Yeah.
To your knowledge, was that machine used for gambling purposes?
Yeah.
Calling your, pardon me, calling your attention to page 2. Mr. Bay, in line 7 makes a reference to Kurt's name. When you serviced these locations, would you leave a call number,
Yeah. Business card.
business card? At this time, the government will play a tape identified as 1-52. The transcript is behind tab 152. The transcript is identified as Government Exhibit 1-152A. The recording is dated February 13th, 2001 at 10:23 a.m. Do you have that conversation in front of you?
Myself?
You have the transcript in front of you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's play that.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I put a brand new one in there. Oh, you did yesterday? No, I put the new one in there Friday. Good Friday, right. Well, anyway, look, I went there and I had a water, so go take a check over there again. Unbelievable. All right. All right? Yeah. All right, thanks. Awesome.
Mr. Arbman, do you recognize the voices on that recording?
Yeah,
And who are the voices?
me, myself, and Anthony.
Calling your attention to page 1 of the transcript, line 3. Mr. Staino says to you, what time are you going over to 19th Street?
Yes,
Do you recognize the reference to 19th Street?
no,
Did you have any locations at this time, or were you servicing any locations for Staino in the vicinity of 19th and Passyunk Avenue?
around 19th Street, yes.
What was that location? If you recall.
There was a little bar, I thought it was on like 17th Street, though.
What was the name of the bar?
I can't recall it.
Okay.
Two brothers owned it, though. I don't remember the name.
Okay, we'll get to that. Line 5, Staino says to you, because I'm going to go over there and do it before you do that. What did you understand Mr. Staino to be referring to when he said, I'm going over there and do it?
Collect the machine.
What did you collect? What?
I'll collect the money out of the machine.
A video poker machine or a video slot machine?
Yes.
Continuing with that sentence, Staino says, before you do that. What did you understand Staino to be referring to when he said, you do that?
Take the machine out.
Line 10, you make a reference to that big machine. Do you recall what that reference was to?
The machine with the 19-inch monitor, I would think.
What kind of machine would that be?
Either or of the two machines you're talking about.
A Dot City poker machine or a Cherry Master slot machine?
Yes.
Now, calling your attention to lines 15, beginning at the bottom of page 1, and continuing over to line 2 at the top of page 2. Staino makes a reference on 11th Street. Did you talk to him? Did you understand who Staino was referring to when he said on 11th Street, did you talk to him?
Yes.
Who was that?
Mousy.
Calling your attention to line 1 on page 2, Staino continues, all right, he tell you about 8th Street. Who did you understand Staino to be referring to when he said he?
Mousy.
And do you understand the reference to 8th Street?
Vicks.
And what's located at Vicks again? Are there machines at Vicks?
At that time, yes.
Then you say, Staino says, that thing broke again, and you say, I put a whole new bill acceptor in there. You see that?
Exactly.
Do you recall replacing a bill acceptor in the video gambling machines at Vicks at or around this time?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the government will play a conversation identified as 1-153. The transcript is behind tab 153. The transcript is identified as Exhibit 1-1-153A. The conversation is dated February 13th, 2001 at 11:22 a.m. Mr. Ardman, do you recognize the voices in that tape?
Yes,
Who are the voices?
myself and Anthony again.
Now, calling your attention to page 1, line 5, there's a reference to Mateo's. Do you understand that reference?
That was probably the place at 19th Street.
Yeah, okay. If you go back to tab 152, there is the reference on line 3 of page 1 to 19th Street. That conversation was dated February 13th, 2001 at 10:23 a.m. Conversation at 153 is February 13th, 11:22 a.m., approximately an hour later. Having heard these conversations played back to back, are you able to now identify the reference to 19th Street?
Yeah,
And that is Mateo's?
yeah.
And what is Mateo's?
It was a bar restaurant.
And were there video poker or video slot machines at that location?
Yeah,
What was at Mateo's location, if you recall?
video poker.
And to your knowledge, were those video poker machines used for gambling purposes?
Yeah,
Now, calling your attention to line 4 and 5 of page 1, you say, listen, I'm over at the warehouse. What were you referring to when you said the warehouse?
I was over my warehouse.
Continuing, you say, you guys have no more bill units. Who were you referring to when you said you guys?
Anthony.
Well, you used the plural, correct?
Well, yeah.
So who were you referring to?
Anthony, Massey, whoever was JMA.
Now you have, you make the, you continue in that sentence. I have no more bill units. I'm going to use the bill unit I took out of Mateo's. What does that phrase bill unit mean?
That would be where you stick the bills.
Is that
The little bill unit goes in the middle of the game.
is that another word for bill acceptor?
Bill acceptor, right.
Then in line 7, you say I'm just going to shove it in one of the 13 inches. What does that mean, 13 inches?
13-inch monitor as opposed to the big one is a 19-inch monitor.
And the monitor's on the video gambling machines, correct?
Yeah.
Line 16, you make a reference. I had to go over to Donnie's. Do you recognize that reference?
Yeah.
What is Donnie's?
Donnie's was a convenience store.
Where was that located?
8th Street.
Were there video poker or video slot machines at Donnie's?
Yeah.
Did you service them?
Yeah.
Did they belong to Staino?
Yeah.
Were they used for gambling purposes?
Yeah.
And then on page 2, you talk about that's the third one that this game. That's the third one the same guy broke. What are you referring to when you say the third one?
There's buttons you play on the top of them.
On the top of what?
On the top of the machines, you have to press a button to make the game play. That was the third time that button got broke.
And then later on you say these pieces. I bought a 6-pack. These pieces never break. You referring
Right.
to the same thing?
Yeah, they never break.
Okay, at this time we'll play tape number 1-55. Transcript is behind tab 155. Transcript is identified as 1-155A. The transcript is dated February 22nd, 2001 at 12:45 p.m. Do you have that transcript in front of you, Mr. Arberman?
Yes.
Okay, let's listen to that tape.
The long transcript is on the monitor, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I don't have nothing on the monitor.
Hold it a minute.
either.
That's not shown in here. That's only in the defense.
I think the correct is.
Okay,
That's
let's
not-
start all over again.
Hello? Hello? Yeah, what's up, buddy? What are you doing, Pat? Hanging in. Good. Listen, I got the coffee machines. Something's wrong with them. All right. Yeah, they gotta readjust them. Okay. All right, thanks a lot, all right?
Mr. Arberman, do you recognize the voices in that conversation?
Yes.
And who are the voices?
Anthony and Pat.
And Pat?
Pasquale.
Pasquale.
Right.
Okay, did you know a Pasquale?
Yeah.
How did you know him?
He had machines in this place.
What kind of machines?
I think he had one of both.
A Dodge City poker machine?
Dodge City and a Cherry.
And who did those machines belong to?
Anthony.
Did you service them?
Yeah.
Were they being used for gambling purposes?
Yeah.
Now, in line 6 of this conversation, Pasquale says, listen, I got the coffee machines, but something's wrong with them. were you servicing any coffee machines at this time?
No,
To your knowledge, did Mr. Staino or Mr. Massimino own any coffee machines?
So objection to reference Mr. Maspino has nothing to do with this.
Rephrase the question.
To your knowledge, you're at this time you're servicing the video machines, correct?
yes,
And you're speaking on a regular basis to Mr. Staino, or
Yeah.
Anthony Staino. You're also talking to Massimino about the same thing, correct?
yeah.
You consult with Massimino about the video poker machines and
Objection,
videos.
but who's
Yeah,
testifying?
but you're asking him about this particular conversation, so I guess the question is, what do you understand that to mean in reference to
I'm
this
getting,
conversation?
I'm just laying the foundation for.
Well, yeah, but let's get to it.
Had you been servicing in the work you've been doing? Had you ever serviced a coffee machine?
No,
To your knowledge, did Staino own any coffee machines?
no,
To your knowledge, did Massimino own any coffee machines?
yeah,
He did.
yeah.
Where were his coffee machines?
In this bar,
At Lou's Crab Bar.
right.
Okay. Did he own any coffee machines? Did Massimino have any coffee machines at Pasquale's location?
No,
Objection, Judge. Has nothing to do with this conversation.
It's just sustain, you have to ask questions about the conversation if you're going to ask him what he was meant there.
Yes, Your Honor. Do you understand? When you heard this conversation? Well, let's skip forward a minute. Let's just play the next conversation, which is identified as Government Exhibit 1-56, and the transcript is behind 156, and the tab is identified as Government Exhibit 1-156A. The conversation is also dated February 22nd, 2001. The time of this conversation is 1:06 p.m. Do you have that transcript in front of you?
yes.
Okay. Let's play that conversation.
Hello. What do you need there, brother? This is you know that coffee shop? The Greaser? Yeah. Can you go over there? Yeah. All right, man. I'm up in that neighborhood now. Okay, you know it's over, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Go over there now. No problem. And the other thing. 20, 30 minutes. Okay, all right. You know the other, John Young? The other over there. If you wanted them all, yeah. Okay, whatever, all right. So now I have next time. Okay, I got it. The boards in there and everything. Oh, the young kids, I'm giving them the 13 inch. Okay. I put a Bill Scepter in one, and I'm just going to move that 19 inch out. And that'll be in the shop. If you need it, you need to put it right out. Okay, good. Yeah, we'll go over there then. Yeah. I'll go over there and I'll do the young guys tomorrow. Okay, great. You're going to call, tell them to expect my brother and the black guy. I certainly will. You know. What time do you think you'll be tomorrow? Over there? Yeah. Over there, maybe lunch, 11 o'clock. Okay, good. All right. All right.
Mr. Arbin, do you recognize the voices on tape recording 1-156?
Yeah,
And who are those voices?
myself and Anthony.
Now, is it correct, the conversation at 1-156 is approximately 20 minutes after the conversation we listened to at 1-155?
Yep, yes,
And during the conversation at 1-156, calling your attention to line 3 of page 1, Staino says to you, you know that coffee shop, The Greaser? Do you recognize the reference to The Greaser?
yes.
Who is the reference to The Greaser?
Pasquale.
Okay, continuing to page 2 of that transcript. Staino asks you about the young kid. Do you recognize the reference to the young kid?
No,
Okay. Continuing on that conversation at 2, you say he wanted them all nickels. What did you mean when you used the phrase all nickels?
if he had machines in there, they were probably on quarters. He would like them to go down to $24, so it would be on nickels.
What are you talking about, quarters and nickels? What are you
The
referring to?
bill scepters could be set to make it nickels or quarters.
So you would be lowering the cost of playing the video poker games?
Yes,
Continuing at line 8, you said the young kid wanted the 13-inch.
Right.
What was that a reference to?
He wanted a small game instead of a big game.
What kind of game?
I can't remember that. I can't remember the young kid.
Well, would it have been a Dodge City poker game or a cherry slot machine?
Yes.
Now, line 17, you make a reference. You say, "Tell him to expect my brother or the black guy." Did you have at this time? Did you have people working for you?
If I needed them, yeah.
Okay, and who was working for you?
My brother would move some stuff.
And did you have anybody else working for you?
Joe Fagans would move some stuff.
Joe Fagan.
Yeah.
Okay, at this time we'll play.
Let's take a morning recess. It's 11:15. We'll take our morning break, and we'll return at 11 o'clock.